Looking for amazing finds and incredible deals? Visit Erie City Mission Thrift today. From stylish clothes and shoes to quality furniture and home goods, you'll discover something new each time while changing lives right here in Erie. It's shopping that feels good and does good. Come see us in Erie and Girard. Erie City Mission Thrift. Thrift with a purpose.
All year round, Frontier Home Products and Design has what you need to make your home comfortable and beautiful. Relax on a new timber tech deck designed by Frontier's experts. A new fireplace from Frontier Home Products Fireplace Gallery adds warmth and serenity to any home. Beauty and versatility at Frontier Home Products and Design Center, 4213 Peachtree, East 5th, next to the Bayfront Highway.
Frontier Home Products and Design Center. Discover a new frontier.
PA contractor number PA 039007.
Welcome to TalkErie.com's Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast. Every day, we tackle the biggest issues that the Erie, PA region faces. Stay informed and involved as we advance the narrative of Erie. Now, here's Joel Natale.
Very excited about this kind of I would say it's almost a year in the making because I have wanted to talk to Dr. Judy Lynch. She is the author of America's Early Frontier, the economic history of Northwest Pennsylvania from 1753 to 2024. Dr. Lynch, good to see you. Welcome. Appreciate you being on with us here.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
All righty. So I guess we need to do a little background. Of course, you were the county executive for 3 terms. Was that
5 terms?
5 terms. That's right, before term limits.
Yes.
So 20 years.
Yes, that's right.
Wow. And before that, were you on county council?
Yes, I was. I was the first chairman of county council. Okay. And, of course, you knew that we had a county commissioner form a government. And then there was a Home Rule Charter. I was the vice chair of the Home Rule Charter Commission. And then I was chairman of the first county council.
That first county council, the executive was Russell Robinson,
yes,
correct?
Yes, sir.
And what district did you represent?
Well, I represented the first district, which was Mill Creek.
Oh, the first district was Mill Creek. Gotcha.
At that time, it was District 1. They have done redistricting, so
yes.
I'm not sure what the
I think that's
are.
more the Bayfront now.
Yes.
Andre Horton's going to become.
Well, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got this right. Maybe, you know what? I might be wrong. It still might be Mill Creek.
I would think that it would still be Mill Creek.
I think it's still
because,
Mill Creek. Yes.
To organize the elections, it would make sense to have it Mill Creek.
Yeah, because we just had the even one. So
yes,
second district is going to be Jim Wirtz. It was Andre Horton. First district is still Terry Scatella, right?
Yes,
okay,
absolutely.
All right. So you remember the county commissioners, which
yes, I do.
What is it, like 62 of 67 counties still have commissioners?
60. Oh yes, most of the counties of the state of Pennsylvania have a commissioner form of government. That means that they have 3 commissioners. 3 commissioners.
Wow.
But one of those has to be of a different party, so that there are always 2 parties that are represented.
It's very interesting.
Yes, it is.
When you go back and look at those the politics of the 1970s around here, and again, there's a method to my questioning. The politics of the 70s were kind of rough and tumble around here.
A lot.
Right? And
yes,
so I think the home rule kind of was in response to maybe people not perceiving that the commissioner format was serving us well.
Well, quite honestly, I think the Home Rule Commission for the County of Erie was conceived by a group of individuals who wanted a different kind of turn of county government. And so Dr. Garvey was part of that. Mm-hmm. There was an attorney. His name was Murphy.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I think I've seen
Irving
that in
Olds
the
Murphy.
Yeah, Olds Murphy. Yep.
Yes, Irving Olds Murphy. He was tremendous. He was our leader, absolutely.
That's so wild.
And I was on the Home Rule Study Commission. It was a very narrow vote because that was voted by the electorate, and I think I won by only a couple votes.
Wow.
Yes.
The and it's interesting because we're talking about it because we have a little bit of that just happened here in Mill Creek with the Government Study Commission going to the manager council method, kind of the same kind of thing. So that begs the question, before we get to the very early part of your book, you talk about politics and their impact on the economy of Northwest Pennsylvania, right?
Yes.
Has politics always been dicey in Northwest PA?
Well, I would assume that that's been a quality that has been ongoing. By dicey, I guess you mean that it is, people like to mix it up.
Yeah, contentious.
That it is a squabble.
Yeah. I mean, what is the famous quote from Horace Greeley about Erie politics, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah, in which he doomed Erie County.
He gave us a curse or something like that.
Yes, it was a curse.
Which is remarkable. So my first real question here, Dr. Lynch, by the way, how did you get involved with history? What is your PhD in and all that stuff? Because was that before everything?
No, actually, I was doing my PhD while I was serving as county executive. Okay. I was teaching at Villa Academy, and I, of course, had my undergraduate degree at that time. That was from the George Washington University. And so when I was at Villa Marie Academy, I wanted to get my master's. I went to Gannon to get my master's. While I was county executive, I thought I gotta take the leap, and I did my doctorate.
And do you remember what your obviously you remember what your
my
thesis
doctorate
was? Yeah,
was in healthcare.
In healthcare.
Yes, actually, it looked at that time when I was doing my doctorate. There's tremendous change in the organization of healthcare here, and the question was, would we have one hospital or two hospitals?
What did you decide?
Well, what I decided is not what they did.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And we are kind of Pittsburgh West, if you understand what I'm saying.
Kind of Pittsburgh North,
yes,
really. I mean,
because both St. Vincent's now and Hammett are affiliated with Pittsburgh conglomerates, healthcare conglomerates.
Yeah, at the time, and again, it must have been when you were doing this research, they were really taking baby steps to combine themselves, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's where the emergent care came from,
right.
where the Associated Clinical Labs, the regional cancer, they did all these collaborations.
Yes. Okay. Much of that was, I mean, when you talk emergent care, I would, and I'm trying to think back exactly, but Nick Slepsoff, do you remember him?
Sure, of course. The
Okay.
Emergency Management Agency.
And that was, of course, he was a county employee, and it was a county effort to put emergent care up.
Okay. Wasn't necessarily the hospitals.
Okay, it was not.
Gotcha. Yeah. And again, they had to convince the city. I remember this whole thing. Again, we could talk about historical politics forever, but they had to convince the city to release the inhalators, if people remember that term.
Yes.
That the fire department had these basically quasi-ambulances.
Yes, they had the mechanisms that were necessary for emergency care.
Yeah, it's like basic life support that they would call it now. All right, I'm going to get back to the history here of Erie in Northwest PA. So you say it's America's early frontier.
Could I just stop you
Yes,
for a minute?
I'm sorry.
That is not my title. Okay.
Oh.
Now, this is a title that the editors and the publishers gave to the book. My title was Our Corner of the World. And if you look at Pennsylvania, there is a corner, and of course Erie County is situated right on that corner, as is Warren, as is Crawford County and Venango County. So if you put the corner together and talk about some of the just unbelievable, it was upheavals, economic upheavals that came our way. And in some ways, we led the world. And I think that we should appreciate the very importance of the, not just Erie County, but the Northwestern Pennsylvania history and how it has contributed.
There's no doubt that we were an entire ecosystem throughout the Northwest here. And really, once you get past the Alleghenies, past the Appalachians,
right,
it was that kind of that new frontier, and the idea of that it took a lot for those early Yankees. I mean, the Connecticut Yankees, the people from Philly.
Yes,
it took a lot for them to come, because this was like a forested, not desolate. It was rich with resources, but it was untamed, right?
Well, yes, and it was not necessarily inviting. However, what we did see is immigration, and this immigration came, I think, principally from like Massachusetts, from the northeastern states, came down through New York and into this area of northwestern Pennsylvania.
So they had to have seen at the waterfront this natural harbor.
Yes.
That had to just be the game changer for Erie.
We should appreciate, and I mean underline, absolutely appreciate the unique position that the geography of Erie County has and of northwestern Pennsylvania. It was with the natural harbor. That is something, of course, that Dunkirk did not have, that Buffalo did not have. So, and Cleveland, of course, and Detroit, we had a natural harbor. But one of the other things I think to appreciate greatly is the fact that we are situated directly on the lake, directly at the lake's edge.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So that's where the city of Erie, the community, the borough, grew. Certainly, Pennsylvania had to fight to get the Erie Triangle. It was only fair for the federal government to give us those 50 miles of lakefront for the Commonwealth, right?
Yes, that's right. And so the Commonwealth did fight for that, and they were successful in getting the lakefront.
Because we could have been part of Connecticut, believe it or not, because of the Western Reserve, and we won't even get into that. Early what you call pre-industrial economy, the salt trade. Can you explain that?
Well, I think that it needs very little explanation because, as you know, humans as well as all species need salt in order to survive. Salt is a absolute essential for the human body. And so the question is when the pioneers were pushing into this area, they, of course, were very excited about the fact that they saw the wild animals, the deer, everything that they could utilize in terms of their food. The Indians, when they were not fighting directly, were assisting the pioneers in finding edibles, nutritious type of commodities that they could eat. But salt was an essential item, and the salt came from New York.
The town is like Salina.
Salina, New York.
Yeah.
It is not directly on Lake Erie. So it's a little distance from Lake Erie. The salt had to be brought to the lake, loaded on barges, and then those barges were sent down to the East Bay front and unloaded at the East Bay front. It was probably, no doubt about it, it was our very first important trade item. There were many that followed it, but salt was one that built actually families and enriched various people and those that controlled the salt trade. Now, I think one more thing that I'd say about the salt trade is that even though it was unloaded at the East Bay front, and even though Erie was a growing population center, the salt actually was intended for the Pittsburgh area.
I was going to say it needed to be portaged to
all the way down,
the French Creek,
down to LaBeouf.
Yes,
or to Waterford, what we call Waterford. And so there was a road pathway, and that salt trade was an extraordinarily important item for the first economy that Erie had.
Let's talk about shipbuilding again. We know about Daniel Dobbins basically knocking on the door of President Madison during the War of 1812 and saying, you need to protect the Great Lakes and you should build the ships in Erie. Was that audacious of him to do? I mean, how did we get that contract, if you will, and not Buffalo or any other place?
Well, first of all, we had the harbor, and the harbor was essential in terms of building the support ships for Daniel Dobbins. So,
but we didn't have the workers. We didn't have the shipwrights, right?
But what happened with the war is when the United States declared the War of 1812, that kind of message went out to the Pittsburgh area, to the Buffalo area, to up and down, and people flocked into Erie in order to help build the fleet that was to take on the British. And we knew that was coming. And so the fleet was built at the bayfront, on the bayfront.
What, Cascade Creek, I think, something like that? Yeah.
Well, no, not Cascade Creek. It was built at the peninsula.
At the peninsula,
At the peninsula. Well, of course, you know.
Right, yeah.
Right.
But, there's a marker down there.
Yes,
that, you know, where the ship are.
Yes, absolutely.
My understanding is because we had that sandbar at the channel, right? They really had to make these boats very special to do that, to get over the sandbar. But the sandbar, I think it was, according to you, did two things. It complicated the shipbuilding, but it also protected the ability to make these ships from a British attack.
Yes, but the sandbar had always been, and the bay had actually always been a problem because the bay is very shallow. Yeah. And the sandbar, of course, was particularly shallow, did not allow the large ships, the warships, to come into the bay. Okay? So the question is, if you build the retinue to assist the Perry in his efforts, then how do you get them over the bar? How do you get them over into the lake? And so they built side panels and then were able to float to increase the height of the ships.
The buoyancy kind of.
Buoyancy. Yeah. And so the ships were able to get across the bar and into the lake. And that was a technological feat.
So when you think about just shipbuilding in and of itself, were we one of those places for shipbuilding?
Amen.
We were, huh?
Amen. Yes, we were.
We made the Erie boat into the late 1800s,
yes,
right?
And there were a number of shipbuilders on the lake, and they were very instrumental. They were actually... They kept up with the change in technology. So they were building steamships. They were building ships that would go all the way across to the Lawrence and then into the Atlantic. So, and carrying whatever was expected or wanted for trade. And
it's hard to believe that what we have now with Don John is a 200-year heritage of shipbuilding in Erie, Pennsylvania.
Yes, I know.
That's pretty remarkable. Yeah.
Now, one of the things about the fact that the bay itself is very shallow, and it has a very sandy bottom, as you would expect, is that they use some of the first nitroglycerin to blast, the bottom of the bay in order to increase the depth of the bay so that ships could come in and out.
Yeah. The you talk a lot about shipping, and the port of Erie. There was a time where when we had the grain elevators and we had had all that, where we were putting some major tonnage. One of our issues, though, right, was that Andrew Carnegie didn't choose us for his coal from Minnesota, right? He chose, he actually built his own port in Conneaut, didn't he?
Yes, that's true. But some of that, I think what you're talking about is this is a very high-grade iron ore.
Yes.
Are you talking about
coming out of Minnesota?
Iron ore?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
For
that it came from Minnesota and across the lake, and was considerably desirable. Okay, and it was something that, and this is the beginning of the steel.
Right.
Okay. However, and this is a problem that Erie had, maybe it still has, okay, is that this very enriched iron ore was put on, it came across the lake, it was offloaded, it was put then on barges and floated down the canal, or, because the canal was not in operation for a very long time, put on trains and taken to Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh became the steel capital of the world.
Yes.
But the item to make the steel came across and was right here in Erie.
There you go. What I always what I always was amazed at is, these robber barons. Again, I think Andrew Carnegie is amazing. I have a lot of regard for him, but they were able to control the entire supply chain from digging out the iron ore to owning the ships, to owning the port, to owning the trains, and to owning the plants.
That's right.
Amazing.
We could talk about John D. Rockefeller.
We could also we need to talk about John D. Rockefeller.
From baggage claim to pajamas in 10 minutes. Erie International Airport. Fly with ERI.com.
Fly Erie International Airport to Charlotte on American Airlines, your nonstop gateway to the world. Also, we have Breeze Airways flying nonstop to Orlando and Tampa, Florida. A great low-cost carrier providing excellent service to the regional community. Fly Erie International for your travel needs.
Fly with ERI.com.
Get paid to drive. Start a new career behind the wheel at the EMTA. If you are looking for a high-paying and rewarding career with full benefits and paid training, stop by or apply online today with the EMTA. Plus, EMTA riders can now enjoy free Wi-Fi on new, clean, and environmentally friendly buses to travel all over Erie County. Visit ridethee.com for more information.
Get on board EMTA. Get on board EMTA.
Quickfill gasoline is made right here in America. United Refining Company, who operates Quickfill, refines its gasoline from North American crude oil in Warren, Pennsylvania. When you buy United Refining Company gasoline at Quickfill, you keep jobs and businesses in America, and you keep American families strong. You don't need to send your money overseas when you buy gasoline. Buy American-made gasoline at Quickfill. Quickfill, driving America.
Glad to have with us here in studio Dr. Judy Lynch. She is the author of America's Early Frontier, Economic History of Northwestern Pennsylvania, or otherwise known as Our Little Corner of the World. And it's not so little, is it? I mean,
well, it's not really so little, but it's extraordinarily instrumental. And I like to say it all started here.
Yeah.
It all started here with Washington. George Washington walking up French Creek in the midwinter in December, walking up French Creek to LaBeouf. And he was the one that when he returned, he wrote a paper that was published in every newspaper, every English newspaper in the world. And in that was his description of northwestern Pennsylvania.
I did not know that. That's amazing.
And so it started here. People who live in the Erie area, in this northwestern Pennsylvania, we should be very proud of our history and the real importance that we have played.
Folks that have been watching the American Revolution on PBS,
yes, I have been.
You have an article here about the death of Dr. Warren at Bunker Hill.
Yes.
So I would assume that's what Warren County is named after,
Yes,
and
it
the
is.
city.
And
Can you tell a little bit of that story? Yeah.
Well, he was a general in the Revolutionary Army and part of the George Washington's people that were immediately around him. Of course, by the end of the war, the United States, and it was a new country, was absolutely bankrupt. It did not have enough money to pay its troops, and certainly not those that were the leaders, that were the captains of the forces. And so one of the things is they would give land. They would give land to those who were not paid. And this Warren was one of those persons. And he came and eventually established what we call the city of Warren.
I want to talk about the age of steam that you're saying here started in 1840. And one of the things I think most Erieites would never know is, like, we were the steam engine capital of the world.
Oh, please, yes. Absolutely, we were the steam engine capital of the world. Now, one of the things we have to do is to give credit where credit is due. And the credit is due to what happened with the first oil well that was drilled in the Titusville area. And that was 1859. And from there, what you have is the beginning of some of our very large industries. And those were iron boilers, okay? And those were iron pumps and all of the things that the oil industry needed in order to get the oil out of the ground and into the transportation system so that it could eventually go to a refinery.
Is it remarkable to you that we would have that kind of engineering prowess?
No. It is not.
Okay.
Excuse me. And that is one of the things I hope, if anybody picks up this book, that they kind of get a feeling for. And that is much of the technology that we had with iron, okay, and with glass and with other, with fabrics, that came to us from the immigrants that came from Germany and Switzerland in particular. But this was immigrant culture, immigrant skills that came to this area, and they were the ones that built the industries that produced these tanks, the iron tanks, and the pumps.
Wow. And so, tell us about some of the names that people might know for steam engines and things.
Okay, I should know all of those, and I don't.
Well, let me take a look here. I mean, because you bring out all of the the famous, the stuff that we learned in grade school about the Tom Thumb, the early steam engines and things. But
Right.
what's interesting is they were using steam for just about everything, like you say, to pump the oil out, and also to run these manufacturing plants. Basically it replaced the grist mill, right?
Oh, yes,
it kind of
absolutely.
replaced the use of water as a driver.
Yes. And so what was manufactured, what was refined from the oil was kerosene initially, but it was very quick that they saw that there was a product that was combustible, and that was gasoline. So gasoline became a product very early on from the oil fields.
Talk about some of the ancillary businesses. Like, for example, wasn't Corey kind of like the barrel maker capital of the world for the oil barrels or whatever?
Yes, but Oil City was.
Yes.
Okay, all of those areas. And, of course, in order to transport oil, you needed barrels. And the barrels were produced I shouldn't say simply and easily, it wasn't. But this is the importance. There was a product that we had naturally in the area of Corey and in Warren County, in Venango County, and that was wood. They had wood, and they were able then to put together the technology and the skills and the factors that were necessary to produce the barrel. And
it was a happy
the barrel,
circumstance, wasn't it?
Yes,
it really
the
was.
barrel capital of the world.
Yeah.
Of the world.
Yeah, making all the barrels. And then, of course, the railroads followed quickly.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, they were trying to get lines to Titusville, to Oil City, to these fields, right?
And, of course, Corey was built because of the railroads. Mm-hmm. You had two railroads coming into Corey, and they were, because Corey became a destination, then that area became a destination, and Corey then developed as a city located right there where the two railroads came together.
Do we want to talk about the Gage War or not really?
The Gage War?
Yeah.
I think that it is important because it shows you the problems of the human character. Okay? So let's just say you build a railroad and it has a certain gauge, and that's how wide the track is. I build a railroad, my gauge is a little bit narrower. I think my gauge is much better. But we are going across the same area. And so then the question is which gauge is the railroad going to be built, the additional part? And so what developed was that there became a movement to get a national gauge.
A standard gauge.
A standard gauge. And
the folks around here didn't like it.
No, absolutely not. Because when industry does not work the way we think it should, or what is most economical or most efficient, okay, in the gaps, usually somebody can make money. And so when you have two gauges come together, when a train is coming on one gauge, everybody has to get off. And that means they're going to go and get something to eat. They may stay for a while. They buy this, they buy that. It becomes a hub for materials and for
the commerce, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so we had a bottleneck.
Oh, yes, we did.
And people need to I think your pickup here on human nature is huge. And also, kind of the regional brand, if you will, the brand of Erie nationwide. This story was picked up by all of the telegraphs, all of the wires across the country. It was not a good look in the New York Times, and in the big newspapers, the Tribune, and so on.
Well, Andrew Greeley was on the train, and he had to get off. He had to get off, and he was one of the ones that was transported. He was on his way, I believe, to Michigan, and he was to give a speech, a very important speech. And he was, of course, in the media. He was an editor, but a person of renown. So when he was forced to get off of his train, and the delay was forced upon him, he kind of hit the switch and started to, I guess what we would say, swear, but he issued a curse on the whole city of Erie.
Yeah, he talked about Erie in such a negative way. And certainly we don't want to carry that curse along. But unfortunately, sometimes in our politics, the attitudes of the gauge war people kind of creeps up here.
And
all right.
I think before we leave the gauge war that it's important to note that it was a bifurcation of the Erie area.
Yeah.
Because some part of the Erie area wanted the 2 gauges to remain and wanted to insist that people get off and be transported to the next train. But other people thought that it was very inefficient and they wanted a single gauge. And so there was a gauge war in which some people were injured.
You're right.
And there was a lot of destruction. Bridges were burned or torn down. So that there was a problem that was caused by this difficulty with the transportation system.
Well, while we're at it here, before we take another break, I want you to talk about because of our unique place, especially along the Lake Plain, we have these grapes. I mean, you have this grape co-op called Welch's. Now, this is much more recent, but really hasn't produce and things and that transport been a part of our history all those years?
When I was in graduate school at Gannon, I had a teacher, and I cannot remember his name. I wish I could. And what he said is something that stayed and has stayed with me. If you look at the escarpment all along Lake Erie, what he said, that is some of the most fertile land in the world, along Lake Erie. And it was in that area that the grape vineyards were finally established. And it was a tremendous industry. It brought a lot of wealth to the Northeast area, but also there were not only grapes, but vegetables and trees and everything grown in the West County. Yeah. So the West County was also a part of that very fertile land area.
Yeah. Again, we've got to remember that the Yankees from Massachusetts and Connecticut came here early. And so why would we have Concord grapes? That might be a reason, right?
Well, yes.
I mean, and Welch's, of course, is an international brand. The name of the book is America's Early Frontier, available at Werner's and at the Jefferson Educational Society. Dr. Judy Lynch is with us, and Doctor, in the remaining time that we have, and again, we're just really scratching the surface here. I want you to talk about both the kind of the innovations and the people behind them. So I was mentioning off the air, it's remarkable to me to see how much of an early adopter Erie was in some big technological change at the end of the 1800s, beginning of the 1900s. So, they call Buffalo the Electric City. Well, we were right up there. We had electricity long before many other communities our size, and certainly larger. They talk about the trolleys. We were early adopters to the trolleys. We were on the forefront of a lot of those technological advances.
Yes, we were. And one of the things is that almost all of them kind of ended in the same way, like in a dead end that was not necessary. So I'm just talking about now the automobile, which seems to be kind of the one of the most important inventions of the early 20th century, and certainly it dominates our culture today. Well, we had one of the first automobile makers here, and it was the automobile that was created here was kind of an upgrading of the bicycle. So if you think of a bicycle with four wheels, what we had was a very early car which had seats available and that had a remarkable look to it about a bicycle, but it certainly was able to carry people and to carry things. And it was a part of what was the bicycle factory, the Black Manufacturing Bicycle.
Wow.
It was one of the largest bicycle factories in the United States. So,
and and then I guess one of the really fancy ones was the one that came out of Modern Tool, right?
yes.
The again, like you say, upgrades, higher technology involved.
Now, if you look at what happened in Crawford County with the zipper,
Oh, geez.
okay,
Yeah.
and you had Gideon Sunback come, and he was a tremendous. He was from Switzerland. He was an immigrant. He brought his skills here, and he worked with others. Okay, but eventually, what they were able to do is to put together what we think of as a very simple machine, the zipper. But if you look very closely at the zipper, it is tremendously complex because everything has to fit together and it has to be pulled up by a common lever. And this is Gideon Sunback bringing the tools and his skills from Switzerland and then having somebody in the city of Meadville sponsor him, bring his ingenuity, his skills, and his previous experience all the way to Meadville. And then they built the first zipper factory.
Wow.
And this is Talon Zipper. Now, Meadville is called the city in which there never was a recession. The recession never came. So, because Meadville did not experience the great dearth of jobs that the other areas of the United States did.
Amazing. And again, also a cautionary tale about the impact of globalism, wasn't it? For Talon to kind of get beat by the global competition.
But see, the point I'm trying to make is that so much of the skills were ones that were brought to this area by immigrants, and we helped to expand them, to grow them, and to cultivate them, and then to maximize their potential and what they could produce.
That's also the story of the Barons, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Again, they picked here because of the water, because of the wood, and to be able to bring their German, processing for paper to here. And
Hammer
they
Mill
created
paper.
Hammer Mill was the brand, the top brand in the world. It was the nameplate.
Absolutely.
It's unreal.
And of course, there was a bandit. This is what I call there was a bandit. He became an owner of the stock and began to insinuate himself into the company and eventually brought it down.
Yeah, Carl Icahn or somebody like that. Talk about Mr. Lord.
The Lord family was a family that was here very early in the pioneer days, and they were taking advantage of the need for pumps to pump the oil, for the tanks to hold them, for other operations to occur. And so wherever they could make a buck, in a sense, wherever there was a need, wherever they could draw the technology, they were able to do it. and they became one of the richest families in the whole area.
Wow. And again, some of these names still exist. The Reed Manufacturing,
Yes, absolutely.
You think about Bucyrus Erie building the Panama
absolutely.
Canal. I mean, it's unreal.
It is totally unreal. But again, I love to see that picture of Teddy Roosevelt on the conveyance, and he's right up there at the top, and it says Bucyrus Erie.
Unbelievable. I appreciate you taking the time. You made your way here before Thanksgiving. Would you come back after the holidays, after it warms back up, and we can maybe dig into some of these stories? I want to hear your favorite stories from the book, because I'm sure you have quite a few of them.
I have a very big concern.
Yeah.
And I would like to have an opportunity if I could just take a minute.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. As I said before, Erie and the associated area, northwestern Pennsylvania, are located in one of the greatest technological advantaged areas of the world, right on the Great Lakes with the bay, a natural bay. And one of the things is that lake is so critical and has been so critical to the history and the technology and the productivity of this area. And so I just want to call attention of the public to the fact that we must guard the water. We have 20% of the fresh water of the world here in the Great Lakes, and it is such a tremendous advantage. We need to know that we are doing everything we can to keep it as pure as possible and to keep it in a position, a quality where it can be used by humans as well as other species.
You don't spoil your blessing.
No.
Dr. Judy Lynch, thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing that all with us here.
You've been listening to The Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast from TalkErie.com. Subscribe to our show on your favorite podcatcher and get involved by emailing joel@TalkErie.com.